laugh, so try not to look at you. Concentrate. Go. Okay. Go. What did you say to Chris? Good luck with your life.
Hi, I'm Rachel Azaguri.
That's all I have to say. Okay.
And I'm Emily Milling.
That'll go in the outtakes. Please do.
And this is the ventureLAB podcast.
So this is our first episode, and to kick things off, we'd like to introduce you to your hosts. I'm Emily Milling, the marketing coordinator here at ventureLAB, and I get to work on great projects like this podcast that help entrepreneurs get closer to their goals.
And I'm Rachel, the director of marketing, and I get to tell Emily what to do.
This podcast has been a long time coming, and we're really excited to bring you expert advice on topics and themes that touch all entrepreneurs in some way.
Our goal is to provide new insights for innovative entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs, as well as companies that want to start working closer with them.
So you'll be hearing from us once a month, and in each episode we'll have an update from our president and CEO, Jeremy Laurin, and we'll touch on one topic or theme with a few experts, followed by a short feature with a ventureLAB entrepreneur.
You can also find us online at venturelab.ca, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, or tweet us at venturelabca, or if you'd like, you can also email us at hello@venturelab.ca.
So let's get on to our first segment and check in with Jeremy to see what's going on in our ecosystem. Okay, Jeremy, what are you most excited about this month?
So what I'm most excited about this month, and what I have been excited about over this past year, is the developing conversation around cities and corridors. And what I mean by that is how a technology community or a business community in general comes together by taking advantage of large urban centers and then the corridors that exist in between them. So notable would be Toronto Waterloo, but another great example could be Ottawa to Kingston. And as these cities and corridors come together and work collaboratively, they build a better culture and a better ecosystem for companies to be able to engage and work locally, even when they are focused on exporting and growing their businesses internationally. So the hot topic for me right now is this idea of cities and corridors and how they come together so that they don't compete with one another, but rather they understand their own unique attributes, how those attributes play together to build a culture of collaboration that bolsters and elevates Ontario's competitive advantage and then ultimately the nation's.
Thanks so much, Jeremy. So in this month's episode, we speak with Jane Gertner and Paul Rivett from our team here at ventureLAB about Agile Business Planning, which is a relatively new form of business planning that centers around customer discovery and customer validation. Traditional business plans tend to focus on the company, and they end up being huge stacks of paper that sit on the shelf until it comes time to do up a new one. Agile Business Planning works with nimble companies to make sure there's a plan in place that works and that can grow and pivot with the company.
Many investors and banks will actually look at these plans and treat them the same way they treat a traditional business plan. Jane and Paul, as well as other members of our team, have actually developed a training method for entrepreneurs to apply Agile Business Planning to their own businesses. Using tools from the lean startup like the Business Model Canvas, as well as expert mentor advice, they've seen entrepreneurs do a full 180 after meeting with potential clients and seeing new trends develop.
It's exactly this type of discovery that leads companies into huge success.
And with that, we'd like to jump into our second segment, Agile Business Planning. So we're here to talk about Agile Business Planning today. And with me, I have Paul Rivett, who's the Director of Client Services at ventureLAB, and Jane Gertner, who's the Health and Wellness Practice Lead at ventureLAB. Paul, can you tell us a little bit about your role and what you do at ventureLAB?
Thanks, Rachel. So I'm responsible for all of the programs and services that ventureLAB provides to entrepreneurs to help them plan, launch, and scale their ventures.
And Jane, can you tell us about what you do at ventureLAB?
Yes, I work with our health and wellness clients to help them grow their businesses and commercialize their technologies. I also work with our healthcare partners in programs to help them pilot and test innovative technologies for our clients.
Paul, in plain English, can you explain what Agile Business is?
Agile Business Planning.
Yes.
So I like to contrast it by traditional business planning, where somebody spends months doing research on a market, looking at how the technology would be developed, and building a 3-volume book, which they call a business plan. And at the end of that, it bears no resemblance at all to the business that they try to implement. In fact, they rarely even look back and analyze that plan. An Agile business plan is a more compact document that's kept up to date and that just deals with getting to the next stage or next step of getting the business going. So it'll initially start at who's the customer, why would they want this product, maybe even what product exactly do they need. And then as they grow or develop this and expand the business, they then start looking at the other components, like how they're going to introduce this into a market, how they're going to finance it, how they're going to distribute to larger markets and customer groups.
So, Jane, would you say traditional business planning is dead?
So yes, I would, because in today's environment, with technology changing so rapidly and the global economy, that you could have a competitor at your doorstep from halfway around the world, to have a static method of planning where you have a book sitting on a shelf and you do things in isolation really doesn't take into account how the world does business right now in the global economy, which is the market that all of our entrepreneurs are competing in.
This is especially the case for small businesses, startups, and expanding businesses. Maybe for giant multinationals where they have to integrate large organizations, they may still do traditional business planning, but even they have to be watchful of aggressive, innovative entrepreneurs using an agile business plan to carve out a huge chunk of their marketplace by doing something innovative and disruptive.
And it's quite amazing. In today's world, you could literally be in business in 2 or 3 months, where it used to take several years of planning to launch a company or launch a business. You can go now and learn how to make anything on the internet. You could go to any library and use 3D printing and make a sample. You can go online and hire people using Fiverr, and you can open a store on eBay or Amazon and be in business globally in 3 months. And any entrepreneur that doesn't recognize those timelines and that flexibility will be at a competitive disadvantage if they're not more agile in the way they think and the way they plan.
So, Jane, can you tell me what Agile business planning is all about?
The lean startup is really about a process, a thinking style, and a methodology to help entrepreneurs as well as large businesses think about their different business differently. And it also does use the scientific method. All of this is based upon even the qualitative part about getting, quantitative type data to determine whether or not you should move your business forward. So it is all part of the lean startup, but there's 3 tools under it, and they all revolve around understanding your customer and delivering value to your customer. The first component is the business model canvas, which is a tool that you can use to determine how you create value to your customer. The second tool is customer discovery, which is just getting outside and talking to your customer, understanding how your product creates value, understanding how you can, how the different features of your product solve their problems and meet their needs. And the third component is actually dovetails agile planning. It's called agile development, which is developing your product in a flexible way as you're learning more. And it is an approach as well as a process and a methodology in terms of understanding your customer needs and making sure that your product delivers against those needs.
All right, so Jane, so basically what you're saying is agile business planning is based around customer needs and customer discovery, but how does this compare to traditional business planning, which focuses on the company instead? Maybe, Paul, you want to weigh in on that?
So you're absolutely correct, Emily. Traditional business planning was about providing the capacity to produce goods and services and deliver them around the world. But now with the competitive forces, that's less important than understanding the specific needs of new customers. If you look at a lot of the new products or companies that are growing, it's because they're providing something unique and different to customers, something different than they had before. And so that's the currency of building companies in the future, is being really close to the customer, understanding their needs, and find some way of delivering that way better than anybody else. Look at Airbnb, for example. They didn't try to build a hotel chain or even compete against hotel chains. They just tried to solve a problem for a small niche of customers that they got to know in great detail, and in the process built a business bigger than the largest hotel chain.
So Paul, can you tell us what makes this process so popular?
Sure. It's process is popular because it's easy for entrepreneurs who are building a business for the first time to do. They don't have to have an MBA to do market research. They don't have to have deep experience in an industry for 20 years to come up with a plan or information. The information, as Jane mentioned before, is readily available to anybody who seeks to access it. What it takes is innovation and creativity and connecting with customers to understand what they really need and to find the best ways of combining components to deliver that need.
So Jane, you work with a lot of entrepreneurs. Why would you recommend them to start working with this process overall?
Because it works. First and foremost, it has been proven over and over again to be the most effective method for launching new products. And as Paul mentioned, it can be executed by any entrepreneur as long as they use still a rigorous process to go out and gather this information. The biggest mistake many entrepreneurs make is become so passionate about their product that when they go out to get feedback, they can't separate that from the reality of what their product delivers, and they are trying to sell their solution to a customer rather than to try to gather feedback and gain an understanding from a customer of their needs. So while it's very effective, it also has to be done properly. You're not going out there to sell your product. You're not going out there to lead the customer to the conclusion that you actually want to hear. What you're doing is going out there to learn and to understand and make sure that you understand what problem your product and your company is solving for the customer to make yourself valuable to that customer.
Have you seen a lot of your clients pivot based, like as soon as you present them with this new model, do you find that a lot of your clients will pivot based on customer feedback?
Absolutely. I can't think of any client of ours who has been extremely successful that hasn't pivoted 3 or 4 times along the way because they have been so open to customer feedback. They've been open to learning from everyone around them, and they gain a greater understanding of the customer's problems and their ability to effectively solve those problems.
So imagine a company that was trying to build a traditional business plan and not listening to that customer feedback and not pivoting. They would have gone to market with their full investment with that first original strategy and would have failed. Certainly an entrepreneur that has worked in a family business for many years and is continuing it probably could use a traditional business plan for the next few years. But somebody starting a new business, it certainly gives them the best odds of success.
So a lot of banks and government funding programs are still looking for the traditional business plan. So how does the Agile business plan fit?
Well, it fits because you can do a bit of a hybrid approach to this. If you do your Agile planning properly, you will end up with great strategies. You will still have a great business model. You will still develop go-to-market strategies. You'll have a deep understanding of your customers. You still need to develop financials. What we're finding, with banks and with some of the government funders, and we work with clients who, work with both of those as well as private investors. If you have a well put together and well thought through, which Agile planning lets you do, executive summary and a set of financials, we're now finding that will suffice instead of a 100-page business plan. So you are getting still part of a traditional business plan, but just the summary up front with all the attachments that are still required. And that seems to have become very acceptable.
I agree completely. Some institutions have asked our clients for more formal business plans, and part of it is for their internal due diligence process and for their external review process, and they want to have a consistent format. And from an Agile plan, it's very straightforward and easy to answer all the questions in the format that's required to deliver that. And so to participate in those funding and lending applications or processes, you have to give them what they need. But we still recommend that the client use the Agile planning process to come up with their plan, and they will usually in conversation impress the banker or the funding agent in the thought and breadth of their understanding of the marketplace and the possible outcomes that can arise much better than if they had just delivered the formal business plan.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. And I think once clients get in the habit of understanding that planning is not static, that it changes very quickly, and that it is agile, and that they have to continue to seek customer input, they have to continue to learn about their business, and they have to continue to iterate their product, even if they produce this more static executive summary to give to a funder, they will still go and change that summary 3 months down the road if something has changed in their business. So at least we have taken a great leap forward. Instead of having a big book sitting on a shelf for 3 years and not looked at again for the next 3 years, with Agile planning, it's also an approach and a thinking style, and they will still revise that plan as necessary. That work of understanding your customer really never stops.
So I have a question sort of about the tangible output of Agile business planning. Like, we've talked about traditional business plans being like several hundred pages worth of paper that no one's looking at. What is the tangible output that an entrepreneur takes away, or a new business, or an investor that's looking at? What are they looking at physically now?
Typically, an Agile business plan, when it's completed, will have a business model canvas, we'll have a financial plan, and it will have a pitch deck. And the pitch deck will explain, which is basically a set of slides that would be presented to an investor or other stakeholder on how the business is going to get started and work and grow and produce value over time.
So Jane, you brought up 3 components. Could we delve a little deeper into them? Maybe we could start with business model canvas. Paul?
A business model canvas is a one-page document that shows the whole business model as an illustration. On one side is the customer side, where we identify who the target customers are and how we work with those target customers and what kind of revenue gets generated from those target customers. On the other side is the operations side, where we create the product or service that delivers the part that goes in the middle, which is the value proposition. The value proposition is a way of saying, what is it that the customer values that we're producing, so the customer pays revenue to cover the costs that it incurs to produce it and give us a profit. That's what the business model canvas is. There's a lot of details in putting this together, but it then expresses the business model on one page, which makes it very easy to have conversations with other people about to get their views on whether those are the right customers, whether they're the most important customers, and how all these pieces interconnect, because the success of the business is in optimizing them and optimizing their connections.
So on to customer discovery. What does that mean?
Well, customer discovery really follows the development of your first business model canvas, because when you're an early stage company, every one of those boxes on the business model canvas is really just your best guess or your hypothesis for who you believe your customer is, how you believe you're going to create value for them, what you think your revenue model is going to be. So you take that business model canvas and you go and talk to your customers to then validate whether that thinking and beliefs you have are true. So the main things you want to find out when you start customer discovery is to validate the critical customer boxes on your canvas, and you want to make sure you get a better handle on understanding what the biggest pains or problems the customer has, because the whole point of customer discovery is to validate your business model and understand the customer's problems and needs, because as you head into the next phase, which is agile development, you want to develop a product that solves the customer problem and meets their needs. And then, as Paul mentioned earlier, it is an iterative process called build, measure, learn. So you want to go out, you want to learn, then you want to build your product using agile development, and then you want to start right again at the beginning of the loop by saying, do I need to modify my business model canvas? Is the customer who I thought they were going to be? Am I creating value and solving their problem in the way I think it needs to be solved? So then you go out and do it again. So you keep going around and around that loop until you believe you've got it right.
Okay, so now agile development.
So agile development is to create the first product that you would show a customer to confirm that that's really what they were expecting, that's really what they wanted, that really solves the problem that they have, that is really something that they would pay for and derive value from using it. And now, a lot of entrepreneurs want to make that a perfect product, competing with the best product in the market, but that's going to delay them getting into market. So the idea is to make it as simple, as minimalistic as possible to demonstrate the value that they're adding. So then they take that to a range of customers, again, to confirm the value, to get feedback. Some customers will love it and say, that's just what I've been looking for. Some will say, actually, that doesn't work for me. And then that then leads you to the next iteration of build, measure, learn, to decide whether you have sufficient customers for that version of a minimum viable product, in which case you can take it to market and then bring in a second product for the other group later, or whether you expand the feature set of that minimum viable product to reach more customers.
And I think an important part of both customer discovery and the agile development process is to remember that you're looking for trends here. You're not attempting to talk to 2 people and have 2 people tell you that this is great. You should talk to a minimum of 20 people so that you can get some sense of how many people like it, how many people don't, what kind of input you need. It isn't just going out and seeking 2 opinions. It's seeking enough opinions that you can start seeing a trend that will send you in a direction that will satisfy customer needs in a better way.
In fact, we have a number of experiences with clients where they presented to 2, 5, 10 companies and they only got lukewarm responses on it. And it wasn't until they went to the next 10 companies and started to see a trend for a completely different application than they originally intended, and they had to pivot their business to focus on that, and that grew into a large, significant, worthwhile marketplace. So it really is all about finding your sweet spot in the marketplace.
And understanding where that is and pivot if you are not getting the response that you had hoped for, to a better direction that better satisfies customer needs.
Jane, could you quickly define pivoting?
A pivot is really a change in direction as opposed to a longer-term change in strategy. So it's really going down a slightly different path. And I think the important part about a pivot is that it doesn't mean that you throw out absolutely everything that you've done, that everything you've done is wrong. What it really means is that you keep the parts of what you've done that people like and value, and you change what you need to change to have it better meet a customer's needs. It isn't a completely new, 180-degree change.
It can also be a choice if you start to see part of your target customer want feature A and another part want feature B, and you have to make a choice of which direction you're going to take the company at this point in time based on the scale of the opportunity for those 2 groups.
So if people want to learn more about the Agile business planning process, where could they go? Where could they find out more about this?
There are a lot of resources on the internet about customer discovery, customer development, business model canvas. So that's a good place for entrepreneurs to get general information. But if you have a venture that you're really trying to participate in Agile planning, I would suggest you contact ventureLAB. At ventureLAB, we have a workshop specifically on implementing Agile planning for your venture, which is supported by mentor and advisory support to help your business accomplish the objectives and grow your business. We run Agile planning workshops across our York Region, Simcoe County, and Muskoka District catchment area. We also deliver Agile planning workshops in partnership with our academic partners, including York University, Seneca College, Georgian College, and Centennial College.
So just want to thank Paul and Jane for joining me and Emily today. And if you have any more questions, you'll find more information on the ventureLAB website. Thanks, guys.
Big thanks again to Jane Gertner and Paul Rivett for taking us through Agile Business Planning.
If you want to take a deeper dive into the different tools available, there are some resources about Agile Business Planning on our website, as well as a video of Jane's Intro to Agile Business Planning presentation. And as always, if you have any questions, you can send us an email at hello@venturelab.ca.
So our final segment features a ventureLAB entrepreneur telling their story. This month we talked to Duane Homick about his experiences starting up GymNext, a company out of Barrie, Ontario that has developed a completely new technology and software for interval training clocks.
My name is Duane Homick, and I am the founder of GymNext. So right now, the fitness industry is undergoing a bit of a revolution. We're seeing a really big rise in high-intensity interval training, and it's really affecting a lot of the different facilities that offer fitness training, and it's changing the equipment that they use and the type of training that they offer. The problem that we're trying to solve is to give facilitators of interval training a tool that lets them track time that is both easy to use, highly configurable to support all the different intervals that they're using, and then highly visible to the athletes who are actually working out. GymNext is coming up on its 18th birthday. So in that time, we've managed to launch the company and launch the product and take it to market and gain some really good early traction. So being an entrepreneur is probably the most exciting thing you will ever do and the most difficult thing you will ever do. When you make a big sale or get kind of a name customer to support you or share your product to the world, I mean, that's like, the ultimate. You're super excited, super happy. Then you have things where you have returns and you deal with customer support issues. You make mistakes and you're at the lowest of the low. And again, you're kind of almost lonely too. But then, you turn it around the next day and you have a really great day and you go back into the highs. So the one piece of advice that I give every entrepreneur that I come across is to launch fast and evolve. And what that means is, you can do all the market research you want. You can, interview customers. You can start creating a go-to-market strategy, a pricing strategy, and a business canvas, and do all these things. Until you have a product in front of people, you really don't have anything. You need to get that product in front of people as quickly as possible to get their feedback, their reaction, find out what you're doing right, find out what you're doing wrong, find out what you're missing, and then evolve your product to match that problem that you're trying to solve. So actually I have multiple good experiences working with ventureLAB. They've provided early on provided some really great workshops that helped me round out kind of my skills as an entrepreneur. I've done this before, I've had multiple startups before, but even attending these workshops, it kind of filled in a lot of the gaps where I hadn't really kind of explored some of those areas around finance or sales or some of the other skills beyond just the technical skills that I have in my background. And then just the one-on-one mentoring has been really valuable as well, dealing with Rob and Jane and Jonathan and really just sort of digging in on my company and them having, not just giving me generic, you're a startup, here's startup advice, but let's dig into your company. Let's actually understand what it is you're doing. What are your problems? What are the opportunities that you have? GymNext is now in over 1,000 gyms across North America. And then as we look to grow, we see a lot of opportunity outside of North America, whether it be Europe or Australia or some of the other locations that have been sending in requests for our product, as well as trying to modify our business model to a certain extent. Currently, our business model is very focused on hardware revenue. We sell hardware and we have a mobile application that we give away for free. And we really want to start monetizing our mobile application. You can find us at www.gymnext.com and follow our story on the Tiny Startup blog with the link available from our website.
I'd like to thank everyone for being on our show today. Jeremy Laurin, Jane Gertner, Paul Rivett, and Duane Homick.
Next month, we'll be talking about crowdfunding, as well as the newest development in fundraising called Crowdfunding for Equity with our guest, Chris Corey.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to tweet us at ventureLAB.ca and find us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. More information about VentureLAB can be found on our website at venturelab.ca.
And if you like the show and you want to send us a little love, remember to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. That helps more listeners like you find our show. See you next time!
This episode and the original music was produced by Emily Milling. VentureLAB is a regional innovation center that works with entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs, and the companies that want to work with them in York Region, Simcoe County, and Muskoka District. VentureLAB is part of the Ontario Network of Entrepreneurs.